Hello and welcome to the Morningscape podcast. I am your host, DJ Mitchell, here with Matt Moody to go over the Tuesday 10 game NHL, DFS, daily fantasy, betting, and more. Matt, how are you doing on this Monday night as we record?
We're doing great. There is the Counter-Strike starts at 3 a.m., so I have a nice bedtime routine of waking up in 2 hours to make sure that there's no nonsense on that. And then the tennis starts at 5 a.m., so got another alarm there. Um, we sleep great in the household of moods. So, um, but yeah, no, Monday was fine. We will get into Tuesday. There's 3 10:30 games on Monday, so going to be another late night. But hey, wouldn't trade it for the world, because in 2 months there's going to be like one game every 3 days, and it's going to be like, damn, this sucks. So I'm going to appreciate it while we have it.
Yeah, this is very funny how you're like, these same game parlays, DJ, they're stupid. They're a bad idea. And you're like, am I going to wake up at 3 a.m. to bet on a bunch of guys clicking buttons on a controller? You bet your sweet ass I am. I don't even know what Counter-Strike is. What the hell do they do? It's like Call of Duty.
It's you plant the bomb, and no, I mean, there is a mode of Call of Duty that's similar, but it's not fast paced like that. It's you plant, team of 5 plants the bomb, other team tries to defuse the bomb, and if you kill the other team, and it's just rounds of that repeatedly. It's pretty awesome. I mean, I've played 4 sports today, and I mean, who knows about baseball or hockey, honestly, at this point, but I did cash a Counter-Strike slate, so we are fans of the sport at the current moment.
Well, I'm losing faith in you as a friend by the second.
That
is wonderful.
You do know I've played Counter-Strike almost daily since COVID, right?
I know this. I just like try to forget. Like it's one of those things where it's like you block things out.
No,
you just try to block it out.
It's been almost 5 years, because I'm pretty sure Doug and I started it in like May. When they were doing,
I believe
like,
you,
online contests.
And I know this, and you know what the funny part about this is that like this became almost like it did for a while become like a career for Doug. Like you guys basically doing this garbage, and I was just like, no, thank you. Weird, very weird timeline of events that happened there.
Yes, instead watch people open Pokemon cards or whatever the fuck.
I didn't do that really during COVID. I probably towards the end. I don't even know. Honestly, I don't know when I started watching that, but it was a fun time. I mean, like I was like, oh my god, these cards are so cool. I remember opening these up as a kid, and and then I don't know, like I don't know. I guess I sometimes watch people play video games, but I just can't imagine like trying to figure out like who's really good at it. Like I find funniness in it sometimes, but we can move past this Counter-Strike stuff. I'm sure it's a riveting conversation that many people are. Although then again, people are betting on like League of Legends, so I guess Counter-Strike's probably cooler than that.
Yeah, I've never I tried, and I have no idea what's going on in League of Legends. I watched an hour of like, here's a guy explaining what's going on out there. None of it registered. I watched the next match. I'm like, yeah, I have no idea. So
I just remember sitting next to this kid in college, and that's all he would do the entire lecture. And then he'd be like, hey, do you have any notes? I just want to compare them to mine. And I remember being like, I'll send you my notes, but like, don't lie to me. Like, you can have my notes. I don't care. Like, I'm like, I've watched you play some game. He was like, LOL, yeah, I'm playing League of Legends. And I'm like, okay, like, here are my notes, but like, don't pretend like you're comparing them to yours. I'm not a good student either. Like,
that is impressive.
I'm watching hockey while I'm doing this, but I'm just not actively playing a game. But we could get into the slate. Diego, thank you for welcoming me back. Yeah, just a tough week over in the streets of my family, but we're back. I guess I'll just say it. My uncle passed away, and with kind of a bit of a longer drawn out process. Sort of finally left us on Thursday, but wanted to get back to things, want to get back to normal. It's tough. We were very close, but if I could say anything, it's just, be there for your friends and family at any time. Always try to make time for everybody, and just take care of yourself as well. Like, don't let things fester. If you have any issues, like, don't do that, because it can be very bad. Like issues like I'm trying to tell Matt right now of waking up at 3 a.m. to play Counter-Strike and 5 to play tennis or whatever. Like these are things you should point out in your friends and loved ones and tell them to stop. That's really what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, I'm gonna go behind the curtain and say that we hadn't spoken for a few days, while you were attending to that, and literally the first thing you said when you called me on, I think it was Sunday, you asked me how I was doing, and I just said I just deposited on the FanDuel Sportsbook, and we both agreed that no one
was
had a
much
worse week.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where like me and my uncle are really close, and it sucks. But like work is sort of like, I'm sorry about that. Like take as much time as you need, but also like I know they're like come in, like you know what I mean? So I was basically back and forth between Buffalo and Rochester all week. So even if I had tried to get some bets together, like I was probably in the car, like I would have to pull, like it just wasn't going to happen. I would have had no thought. I honestly didn't even know Brady the truck was out until like Sunday. Like I was like, it would have been useless. So everyone was better off for me taking the time that I needed. And crazy roller coaster of events. Yeah. But at the end of the day, we move forward. We move on to Tuesday slate.
And it hits close to home. DJ's uncle literally lived 2 doors down from where I grew up. Like his daughter, DJ's cousin, my sister's age. So great man. Great man, Diego, for sure. But yeah, certainly just an awful situation. And we're all better for having known DJ's uncle here at the Morningscape Podcast family. Yep. So
Uncle might the best to ever do it. Yeah, the best to ever do it. But I'll tell you one thing he never cared about, and that is hockey. So why don't we get right? He was the type of guy that pretended to try to figure out football, but like he always would tell me like it's like chess, kind of, and I'd be like, okay. But he did not care. He was not a sports guy. He went to some of my games, I guess, and was like, this is pretty cool, but like looks terrible. More of a man of music himself. Could play basically any instrument under the sun. And I gamble on sports. I think what I do is pretty cool too. But we have 10 games and probably everyone already skipping ahead. So we're there now. We're to the sports. You can 7:20. We're ready to go.
And I'm sure you will be timestamping this, DJ. All right.
Well, actually, it won't be 7:20 because there'll be an ad of you saying to gamble on sports, and then me saying to gamble on sports. So we're just gonna, kind of back and forth. So let's get into it though before I continue to talk about something else. Counter-Strike.
Yeah, we were told like a month ago to use a different script, and I just never did it because the golf one's better than the stupid basketball one. So,
God. I know.
So, anyway,
I forgot about that going on too, and then I got a text that was like, "You want to watch this Duke game?" Like, I actually wanted to. I'm gonna get sidetracked again because you know where that meant. I was like, "Oh crap, that's going on." I didn't even think about that. Probably got some free bets that I just never used. But we have Carolina and Buffalo to talk about. We have Carolina at Buffalo. Are you ready?
Yes, Nope. Where's the screen? Uh-oh. It might be doing the thing where I need to leave and rejoin. Let's see.
Oh, thank God. DJ Solo Pod, anybody? Well, I can talk about.
Boy.
I can talk about Carolina, Buffalo for a second. I can take us in while we wait for you if you want 1 second. Are you gonna
let me
pop out rejoined?
Yeah, let me try the other screen just to make sure it's
okay. We'll try the. I mean, it like isn't on the thing, like on the.
No, I know.
For me to,
I know. I know.
Do the stuff.
All right. Yeah, it's fucked.
Okay.
Great. Perfect. We love to see it.
Just leave and come back. It'll be okay. I can talk. Everyone knows I can talk better than anybody. The biggest talker there ever was. Now, the thing about this game that you have to know right up front is that the sports books are out to get you. They're saying it's a minus 185 Carolina on the road in Buffalo. Listen, the Sabres are mathematically completely eliminated. I know it's not technically eliminated, but this is the best team in the NHL now. They just wait until it's the worst possible time to win every night, and they win every night. It is one of 2 6.5s, 3 6.5s now because, is it 4 6.5s now? Yeah, 4. Okay, there's 4 6.5s now. It was 2 when I started because one game wasn't up yet, and one has gone up. But we have a high scoring game. Sportsbooks lying to you. Put all of your money on the Sabres now. They are eliminated from the playoffs basically by any metric you could possibly find. So they have to just murder their draft stock. The Sabres are led by the greatest goal scorer of our generation, not Alexander Ovechkin, it's Tage Thompson, who is on pace to catch Ovi probably by the end of next season, as is currently just never going to stop scoring hat tricks every single night. I mean, it's a free bet, so we already know it's a guaranteed hit. Like, we're giving you the free obvious win. Matt, is it still not working?
It's still not working. I need to completely restart. This is fucking ridiculous. Fuck StreamYard.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Well, I guess I talk for longer then. This is going to be good. I don't even know if I should just start going through this game, wait for Matt. It's probably best to wait for him a bit because there's probably some news and notes that I'm like not even aware of. But in reality, I'll just, I'll give a little Slate overview. You know what? Let's see if my screen share works. Everyone likes my overviews. That's been the biggest thing everyone's been missing is my overviews. So why don't we go over the slate? We'll just look at the sports book for a minute and we'll talk about it. We'll zoom in a little bit, make it a little bigger. Talk about right now. I mean, Boston at New Jersey. We're just going to go in order of the sports book. New Jersey is a massive favorite. The Boston Bruins, the worst team in the National Hockey League, I do believe at this point. They're bottom of the Eastern Conference. The Devils are kind of this weird team that, like, I feel like everything around them feels like there's just a 0% chance they could do any damage, but it's a pretty good matchup. I don't think it's going to be popular. Again, the total isn't very big. The team total is fine. I'm not saying New Jersey's sneaky because they're very concentrated, but again, like, this total is at least interesting to note. Game 2, the Chicago Blackhawks, they're back, folks. They're winning games. They're beating the Penguins. This was one of our 6.5s. Rucker McGroarty, Frankie Nazar, some young guns, some good times there. Sabres game I already talked about. Again, this is a lie set up by I don't know who to hurt I don't know who, because the Sabres actually should be minus 400. They're never going to lose again. Detroit and Detroit Montreal in the game that could have been a great game if Detroit didn't suck and Montreal didn't win every night. 5.5, kind of a low total, but whatever. Basically a pick 'em. So not a ton of like obvious people are going to be jamming this spot here. The conspiracy comes to full force as we get the Florida Panthers at home against Toronto. The conspiracy, of course, being that the Florida Panthers are trying to play Toronto in the first round and lose on purpose to allow Ottawa to jump them in the standings. I mean, I don't know. Call me crazy, but that's the stupidest shit I've ever heard in my life. Nevertheless, the Panthers have been incredibly hard to pin down as what their lineup's going to be on a night-to-night basis. No idea myself. So definitely a lot to uncover here and keep an eye on if you are planning on playing this, because I don't think it's going to be very popular. Not as popular as Ottawa and the Blue Jackets. Blue Jackets, they're gone. I mean, they're done. Not going to be coming back. They're joining the likes of Buffalo in the ether of nothingness. I think Matt's screen share is maybe working now, so I'll give him a second on the side. Go through the last couple games. Vancouver and Dallas in the game that no one's going to care about. Islanders at the Predators in another game that no one really cares about. They're both completely garbage. Islanders, again, tough break. Thought they had something. Didn't quite get there. Whatever. Seattle and Utah in another game that means absolutely nothing. 5.5 down the board there. And finally, Vegas and Colorado in a game that like has some merit to probably consider because it's 6.5 and Colorado is a favorite. And I don't know, but nevertheless, Matt's ready now. We don't need to talk about nonsense. He can rejoin the stream. Let me actually make him. I'll force him to. Matt, are you ready?
Yeah, I had to sign into Firefox, so I'm not on my normal account, so that's why you had to add me here. And can I present this? No, you need to click the thing.
There you go.
Yeah, and then change the setup so that it's stacked.
Oh yeah. You want it like no. Ooh. This. That's closer.
Yeah, that's fine. We can make that work. All right. Whatever. Not a big deal. All right, Carolina, great. We nailed it. Only 14 minutes in, we're finally talking about the slate. That makes that about checks out.
To be fair though, it's like I feel like there's like some games to really cover and go over stuff, and then there's some games that are just sort of like moving on. So yeah. Carolina at Buffalo is probably one to cover.
Yep. Carolina looks fairly decent, though Buffalo defensively has been fine. Their goaltending's been a bit suspect, but that's not really the fault of James Reimer, who's been very good randomly. So who
Yeah.
knows? Whatever. Buffalo, obviously not a ton of interest there, given a matchup with Carolina, but they are scoring, and we do like goal scorers. Speaking of goal scorers, well, I'll start with Carolina. Yeah, top line looks pretty good. I'm not sure the status of Jesperi Kotkaniemi. He missed practice, was getting imaging, so
Yeah.
I think he's gonna
I
miss.
Yeah, it sounded like he was gonna miss, but like nothing
Um,
concrete. It was they said like he's been like released, and that was like all they'd say. Like he went
yeah,
for imaging and like was not in the hospital, and like that was it. I was like, oh,
yeah.
okay, thank you, Rob.
So so the I guess the main point of interest is Andrei Svechnikov back in the mix. He's playing with Stahl Martinuk, and then Hall, Roslovic, Stankoven is the second line with no Kotkaniemi. Power play one remains the same. Taylor Hall on that top unit. My interest here is in the top line Hall. I don't think Gostisbehere's a bad play, but also not incredibly interesting at 4,800 just with his minutes insecurity. But Jarvis, Aho, Blake, they've all been very good. Jackson Blake in particular, probably way underpriced for the role he's had. And
Yeah,
yeah, I'm pretty into that.
yeah. I mean, my personal philosophy on this game is it's a 6.5. Carolina has a pretty big implied team total because of it. I don't know how much that's going to lead to people actually clicking the buttons on Carolina because it's not cheap, and it feels like Buffalo's been good enough that maybe the slappies won't get there, but like I have no interest in Buffalo, and you're not sharing your screen anymore.
Yep, I'm on the
Okay,
wrong screen, so that
try again.
is
Let me know when
yeah.
you're ready. I'll keep talking about nonsense. My theory here is probably fading this game personally. I don't mind Carolina, which is what you were showing. I probably lean the top line because, like you said, Jackson Blake is still just too cheap. Add that back for you. Oh, that looks really nice. Um,
Okay, good.
any thoughts
We're back.
on Gossip Bear if you are playing Carolina?
I mean, thanks for listening. I said he's not a great play, but
Oh, okay. You're
I'm
probably right. I wasn't listening.
I'm okay. I'm okay with it. Like if you
Yeah,
get there, you get there. But I'm not interested with the minutes risk.
that's fine. I don't. I think at the end of the day, I'm just not playing this game. Is the answer, but I could see why you want to it. Any interest in any other lines? I mean, I'm probably pretty certain you're not going the Svechnikov, Martinuk, Stahl route, but Hall, Roslovic, Stankoven have
It's
been
cheap
interesting.
enough. I mean, Svechnikov
Okay.
4,800. It's not crazy. 11.2k. Like I don't know. It's Buffalo. Like any line can score against them. Svechnikov is a very good player. We know this line is legitimately good, and it is 11.2. The second line is all the way up at 14k. So like you're getting a substantial savings. I
Yeah.
have no problem with it, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. Buffalo, on the other hand, like, I understand what brings you to them because of all the nonsense I said while you were gone of them just never losing again. And Tage Thompson's going to, continue this run of Ovechkin, like, right until he takes over the goal record. But in reality, this matchup is incredibly bad. And I just don't really know like, what does it look like when you're right? Like, how do you build the lineup for success? I mean, like, let's just say again, like, let's just work on the assumption you are playing Buffalo for whatever reason, whatever leads you back to that path. I mean, what are you playing here?
I think it starts around Tuck and Tage. But
Bold.
honestly, Kulik and Benson have been good enough to warrant consideration, even though it's like not power play correlated. Benson's not even on any power play unit. 15.5k for that line. Like their actuals and minus their expecteds, like as a trio over the past 10 games, they've actually been a bit unlucky, which is crazy considering,
Yeah,
Tage has a hat trick and has been smashing, and Benson and Kulik have been fine. Like, I mean, there's a lot to like here. The matchup is really the only downgrade.
yeah,
Paterka, McLeod, Quinn all have been playing well. It's mostly due to percentages, but again, this is a line between Paterka and Quinn that we saw globetrot the league for, half a season 2 years ago. And now Ryan McLeod's there in place of Dylan Cousins. Like, I'm fine with that. So, but again, matchup just makes it a no. I think the volume that you can rely on with Tage is the only thing I would do, which means, top line, something like Tage, Tuck, Darlene. But Alex Tuck down on the third line should not be overlooked. He's been every bit as good as I
Yeah.
think any winger in the NHL over the past 10. I mean, he's just been all around shots, blocks, points, doing it all. And the ice time's not a huge concern either, despite being on the third line with Krebs and Sucker. So, yeah, no other interest as far as depth pieces. There's not a ton to like there.
Yeah, I mean Noah Ostlund doesn't really profile to be a prolific rate shooter type of player, and like hasn't even produced a singular fantasy point in daily fantasy yet.
I think
Good,
he
you know,
one game. Is it 2 games or one game?
two,
I think it's
two,
just
two games with about 20 minutes, I think, of ice time at this point, and like it went up. I mean, it's he's seeing a power play role, but like he profiles much more to be a pass first type of guy. So in a bad matchup. So yeah, we can move on to Detroit at Montreal. Like I said, the game in theory matters. I mean, Detroit is there. They're in the realm of like if everything possibly if they rolled 10 dice and they all turned one, they might make the playoffs. But in reality, Montreal's basically ran away and hidden at this point. But yeah, 5.5 total, leaning towards Montreal minus 130. The sports books are. What do you say?
yeah. That's pretty interesting, right? I mean, Montreal at home against Detroit. It is a 5.5. Like Montreal's not even a significant favorite. I mean, that's basically a coin flip. Um, so it's telling you something, I think. And
Yeah.
like, does it mean fantasy goodness? Maybe not. But like, also, I don't know if a 5.5 is where this game ends up.
Mm-hmm.
And that both these, especially Detroit, is going to be incredibly desperate. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
you might be underselling it. Like, if Detroit wins this game, they will be 4 back with a game in hand. And if they win in regulation, they'll have the tiebreaker over Montreal. So, like, it's very doable if Detroit wins this game. So
Over if they lose, right? I mean, yeah,
it is.
maybe yeah.
Yes, it is all, but it is entirely over if they lose this game. Which means if they're down 3 goals with 5 minutes left, I bet the goalie's coming out. Like those sort of things, I think are things to consider when you're building
Yeah.
lineups. If you're, super stack Montreal or super stack Detroit, because like, it's gonna be the best guns versus a lot of other teams. We don't know who's gonna play, but even if they are playing their star players, they might be they might be mailing it in. They might be rested, halfway through the game. Oh, you'll play 16 minutes to keep you fresh, sort of deal. Like this is a playoff game for Detroit and Montreal, and so um, when we get to the Montreal for the Detroit side of things, we have a very clear top line: DeBrincat, Larkin, Kane. That's likely going to eat the Suzuki matchup, which isn't great. We have the Soderblom, Casper, Raymond line, where Casper's been awesome all season long. Soderblom and Raymond are offensively slanted players with decent profiles that should get middle six matchups against the Montreal Canadiens. Um, that seems pretty solid to me. Do I 13.9K for all three of them? I don't know. It seems doable. But like a mini stack of Casper and Raymond or Soderblom and Casper, like feels a little too cheap to me. I don't have
Yeah.
much interest in anyone else on Detroit, but I think you could sell me that like Detroit might be one of the better spots in terms of factoring in what I assume will be negligible ownership with a 2.6 total.
Yeah, I mean, I could be convinced of that. I also could be convinced to play it either way. And like, I think what's really the most insane thing is just like Dylan Larkin's been pretty much non-existent. A couple assists mixed into that bag of non-existence, but as this team has fallen apart, and it almost makes me think that maybe like you're not going to be the only person with that idea of like, well, this is a must-win game. They clearly have a top six now that they're going to be utilizing. I would also say that the defensemen, while haven't really gotten there, two of them have really taken over, and Edvinson and Sider as like all of the minutes they could possibly handle with a little bit of everyone else because the other guys, frankly, are bad. But I almost wonder if people just look at this Larkin situation and say, why spend the cap on this? They're going to draw a tough matchup. But like on the other hand, Larkin's still playing 23 minutes. Like I kind of still think I'm going top line or nothing here. Because I wonder like how like what are the the donkeys that are going to be jamming their head against the keyboard are not getting to Detroit one, right?
I agree.
I
I
mean,
agree. Yeah.
so who's clicking it? The slappies, the looking at the box score people? No. I mean, it's really just your game theory, bros. How and there's other spots that exist on this slate that probably feel better. So I don't know. I think you're kind of just looking at a much lower ownership, like an actually sneaky stack in Detroit one. Like,
Yeah.
and it makes all the sense
So
in the world to play.
for comparison, 20K Detroit, Montreal 1 is 19K.
19-2.
So it's
Yeah.
it's a little cheaper to go Montreal. They have a better total, and I
They've been
think
better.
I think the field would say they have more juice. So like,
Yeah.
it makes all the sense in the world to me to pivot to Detroit here. You're gonna get your 20 minutes versus other games. So I don't know. It's something to think about. On the Montreal side, you have again the clear benefit of if Detroit's losing 4-1, you're not mailing it in. You are seeing an empty netter possibility for Suzuki, specifically, but maybe Caulfield, Slavkovsky, the likes. So, um, yeah, I feel like Montreal will be sufficiently owned, so my
Yeah.
expectations are a bit tempered as far as like how excited I'll be to play them in 21 hours from the time we're recording this.
Yeah.
But
I
Lane
mean,
Hudson
we're yeah.
is
Oh,
delivering.
no.
I mean, like he is actually showing up and doing it all. He had a sick end-to-end rush that he finished on. Like, I mean, just this kid's doing it all now. 5100, perfectly fine way to add on. With Caden Gooley, I think his 5-on-5 play gets much better. So like, no problems there. And then you can go down to Gallagher, Dvorak, Anderson. Like, I mean, that line is sufficiently inexpensive. It's 11K. They're going to get ice time, and they're also probably getting a chance again at that 4-1 empty net type situation. Like it's at least maybe slightly less than a coin flip, but like if you want to get cheaper off of Suzuki, Caulfield, Slavkovsky, like that's totally fine to do as well. But yeah, where are you leaning on Montreal?
I mean, probably not playing them. I understand everything you're saying on really any of this, but I'm certainly afraid of the ownership of the first line. And we're in peak nonsense season. Like it's all like this is when you really can't even try to sit there and not get different. And you can even just look at something that isn't even that nonsensical of Detroit playing all the minutes and be like, no one's playing this, but they're all playing Montreal 1 and Lane Hudson. I think the funniest part about this is that Lane Hudson's 1,000 cheaper than Mike Matheson. And like, I know that Mike Matheson role is huge, but man, like that's pretty wild. 5,100 is maybe more closer to accurately correct, but just not quite capturing the upside, like you said, with those end-to-end rushes and that elite, ability to kind of game break that Lane Hudson has. Yeah, I think a lot, like all roads lead back to Montreal on this.
In the last 10 games,
Let's
Lane
think about
Hudson.
the nonsense. Let's actually look at what the sports.
All right, you might be a bit delayed here, but anyway, in the last 10 games, Lane Hudson has 10 assists and 23 block shots. So even if you discount his one goal and a handful of shots he's getting, like that is 3 block shots and an assist is 12 DK points. So right there you're getting almost 2x, and you're not going anything crazy. And of course, Lane Hudson has 3-point upside based on what we've seen for what is probably going to be the Calder Trophy recipient come NHL awards season. All right, ready for Toronto and Florida?
I'm more ready than the Florida Panthers, if that does anything for you. Toronto, the Anthony Stolarz Bowl. Tell me about it.
Yes. Well, is this game in Florida? Yeah, it's in Florida.
Yes.
All right. So, Samson will not be able to visit Stolarz' cat, which I really enjoyed the last time these two teams met. The story came out that Samson was very excited to see the cat that he fostered when Stolarz got traded. I guess it would have been 2 seasons ago. maybe it was last season. I don't know. Whatever. When Stolarz got traded, he fostered his cat for a few weeks while he got his his shit together in his new city. Anyway, the Toronto Maple Leafs do not profile very well, but this Florida team is not the team we're likely to see on Tuesday night because we are a little bit, we're a little bit lacking in the good players department on the Florida side. I didn't reflect it in the sheet because, frankly, I'm not positive who's in and who's out come Tuesday. But just keep in mind that on Sunday, second half of the back to back, Reinhart, Barkov has been out due to injury, but Reinhart, Bennett, Forsling all sat out just for rest. Like if it were the playoffs, they'd be ready. Maybe even Mikola did too, or was it Kulikov? Well, one of those two did, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
That I already replaced and forgot to highlight. But we're dealing with a ton of injuries, a ton of rest, a ton of nonsense. It sounds like Barkov will be ready to play on Tuesday, but that's not confirmed. I'm just projecting him in for now. And I don't think Reinhardt sits for the rest of the season. So, this seems like a good spot to play him in. But yeah, be very mindful of that because Florida is veering on the edge of nonsense, pretty much until the end of the season. Yeah, because we don't know. They might actually play players, before the end of the year, but we just don't know at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if any team's going to do it, it's probably the defending Stanley Cup champions. It makes some level of sense. Played a ton of games, don't get as long of his off season. I'm not going to, whatever works for you. I mean, of course, I know most hockey fans would agree. It's kind of like not having it in my sport, but you can't stop it. Kind of makes this game almost impossible to really run through and because it's just not going to be easy to run through. I do think that it's a fine spot for Florida. Like you're saying, it feels like it's a pretty good spot, but I don't know. I mean, play whatever exists tomorrow if you want to, but if these guys are out, the spot obviously isn't as good because they're not going to have as many good players. And while players like Marchand and Sam Miskevich are an okay-ish value-ish now, not quite as cheap as they once were. I mean, Sam Miskevich has actually been good, and Marchand's been around. It's just really what are they doing by themselves at this point if they don't have a center to kind of help, run the line? I mean, everything kind of gets thrown into a blender. It's just no, thank you. I think I'm just not going to do it out of respect for my mental well-being.
Yeah, the minutes also against Detroit were pretty interesting because Sam Miskevich only played 14 minutes in that one, and he's been on the top power play throughout. He was bumped down though to basically fourth line duties. Just it's a shit show. But if Barkov misses and if Bennett sits again, Anton Lundell is a great play. Obviously, just he does everything in terms of offense and defense and power play and special teams. If that's the case, but yeah, otherwise I don't see any obvious beneficiaries in what we're looking at here. Maybe not even Luosterainen only got 14 minutes despite being glued to Lundell. So it's Lundell or nothing for me in this game, unless Reinhart plays with Barkov, and then I'm pretty interested in Sam Reinhart. All right, cool.
You know what? Actually, I'm going to say one thing. The most impressive part about that game is that Carter Verhaeghe played 18 minutes and was power play too. I don't know what he did. He must have gone out on one power play and put his. I don't even want to know. He's never seen it again.
He's been horrendous.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's been good. I'm just saying it's crazy. They really do not want him to ever look at that top power play again. Okay.
Yeah, other side of the game. They saw someone who's damn, he makes Mika Zibanejad look productive on the power play. And they were
okay. There's a line I will not cross. And you found it and you crossed it. Mika Zibanejad is the line. Okay, let's move on to Toronto.
All right. On the Toronto side, pretty standard. It's very clear that Toronto has no interest in tanking out the rest of the season. So they, I mean, if they win out, they lock up the Atlantic 1 seed. So that's obviously going to be their goal here. Nyes Matthews Marner runs you 21.7K, all power play one correlated. Worth noting, Matthew Nyes has been actually good lately. He's been shooting, most importantly. Uh, so, like, kind of gone are the days of Nyes being a clear uh, third option, I guess, on this line. Like, last 10 games, he has 28 shots on goal. He has six most recently against Columbus. So he's getting involved. The line's been obviously very productive. Second line, McMahon, Tavares, Nylander, a bit cheaper, 19K in total, though obviously McMahon, not power play one. Um, Second or third and fourth lines, pretty Garbo. Any interest in Toronto? I guess let's assume Barkov plays, but okay.
Yeah.
If Barkov's
my,
out, like if Barkov's out, are you like racing to play Toronto one? Or are you still a little hesitant given their price?
honestly, this is probably going to sound so stupid, but I honestly feel like I'm more interested in playing them if Florida's playing guys because of, like you said, like they're not even really playing them. Like people are going to talk themselves off of Toronto because Barkov's in, and then Barkov's going to play 13 minutes. Like they're going to just play whoever. Some like it feels like a rotational rest type of situation, and like still I really don't think I think I really I just don't have a ton of interest in this game is probably going to be really the end result. Like I think that the reason you're seeing Lundell play all these minutes is because they just want to try to shut it down and get to the postseason. Um, I don't know if there'll be a ton of pace because Florida won't push the pace, and it makes me a little bit hesitant in general. But in reality, if everyone's going to all of a sudden go and it's like I feel like you kind of missed the plot of this game. Like I don't know. Maybe. I feel like I have to see the final result before I make a decision. My brain can't quite put this game together.
All right.
What do you think?
I'll say if Forsling doesn't play, that's sort of the line to me. Like if Barkov and Reinhardt are in, but Forsling sits, then I'm probably like,
Yeah.
all right, yeah, I'll play some Matthews and sort of like what you said. Oh, well, Barkov's not going to play 21 minutes here, so like, it's not going to be all Barkov for this line, and he's not going to have the safety blanket of Gus Forsling behind him, who's obviously very, very good. Though if Forsling plays, that just makes it a tougher hill to climb, and I think that's sort of where I draw the line. But all a fluid situation. Keep an eye on that one in particular as we head into 7 o'clock lock on Tuesday. All right, Boston and New Jersey. This game hopefully should be pretty quick because Boston is mailing it in. They're done.
Mm-hmm.
David Pastrnak says not so fast, but the rest of the team's like, come on, David, like let's just go home.
Please, yeah.
So New Jersey looks pretty good. No thanks to them because they're doing absolutely nothing at the moment. But just because Boston has been so unbelievably bad. On the Boston side, it is David Pastrnak and a bunch of dudes. Morgan Geekie and Lindholm are currently the beneficiaries of playing alongside David Pastrnak. There's absolutely nobody else in this hockey team you should even remotely consider. Any contradiction? All right, New Jersey. What do you think about New Jersey? We have confirmed they are using the same lines from their recent games, which have not been very impressive, if you ask me.
No,
Although,
I mean
it's probably it's probably the worst idea to throw something about recent form to you, who is just redialing back into the NHL. But anyway,
it's fine. I mean, I think if you're playing the Devils, I would just overstack. Like this is such an abysmal, horrid Boston team, and really, like you're saying, like well, Pasternak's still trying and he's getting all these points, but in reality, he's not playing defense, and that line has been incredibly bad defensively, and there's just nothing good defensively on this team. I mean, people are gonna, this season's gonna always go down as the year that they, Swayman sat out and didn't, and then the goal. This team can't defend at all. So like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that New Jersey overstack is the answer to the riddle here, but I think as far as the slate goes, it's one of my favorite spots so far to just go Bratt, Keishier, Timo, Dawson, and Luke Hughes. Like, let's go 5-man on it. Like, the rest of this team sucks. It's expensive, but it's not like you could not afford the 5-man on this slate, especially because there's a pretty decent bit of value elsewhere. So, I mean, it's like it's overpriced, sure, but that's going to keep people off of it. And if you overstack it in the nonsense slate of the season, why not New Jersey nonsense? Why not? Why not that one? Why not one time?
Yeah, I mean, seeing 10% of the field click Boston on Saturday for the Fantasy Hockey World Championship and that being the line you had to have to win on the slate was just peak 2025 NHL season for me. I
Yeah,
don't know. I'm just not clicking on in New Jersey power play one stack that costs 22K for 3 guys when Toronto one is 500 less. Like you're just not getting me to do it. I love Timo. I
I
love
mean,
Timo
yeah,
without Jack
that's
Hughes in
yeah.
particular, but I'm one-offing Timo at best. So
You're saying the right answer. You're saying the smart thing, and someone out there is going to be brave and bold and win the slate, and someone else is going to be like, "But the numbers," and that's you. Stick to Counter Strike, nerd. We're stacking the Devils tomorrow.
perfect. All right, DJ's stack of the night. You know one of them.
All right, let me
Ottawa.
ask you this though. Let me just ask you
Um,
this though before we can
oh,
move on because I want to keep this moving as well. Like, is this going to be popular?
I I don't think so because of the price.
Okay, perfect.
Um,
So for good reason,
because
it's not going to be popular as opposed to normal when it's for bad reason.
yeah, I mean, coming up we have Utah against a back-to-back Seattle team, Dallas against Vancouver. We have Pittsburgh against Chicago, and
Yeah,
we have McKinnon, though it's in a tougher matchup. So like
yeah,
that plus the Montreal stuff we've already covered. Like I just don't think there's enough room for a bunch of
yeah,
New Jersey ownership on 7,500 Nico Heischer.
yeah. That's fair. Okay, Ottawa. I think this
Yeah,
is
Ottawa.
six. Okay, I already mentioned one of the 6.5 totals. Ottawa slight favorite. The game looks pretty good from a pace perspective, and Columbus is probably gone. Like I said, like I think it's just almost this is actually the Detroit I mentioned before, where they need like 5 rolls of snake eyes in a row to get back in the mix here, but they're still going to try. Um, Yet Ottawa seems pretty cheap all around. So let's take a peek at what you would do if you were going to stack Ottawa.
Um, yeah, the problem with stacking Ottawa is that their lines are a total clown show. With no Brady Kachuk, we've just decided that good
Yeah,
players
right.
need not apply. Uh, Michael Amadio, Shane Pinto,
Mhm.
Ridley Gregg on the top power play. David Perron, Dylan Cousins, Drake Batherson. I mean, that's the line, but this line is getting 15% ownership every night, and
Yeah,
they
and it will
suck.
again.
And they're 16K, so like, whatever. Sanderson is been good. Shabbat's been good. They're pretty expensive though, I would say, for mid tier defense. And then Stutzla, Giroux, and Zetterland is another 15K line that like sounds fun, but then you look at the fantasy points and you're like, huh, yeah, that's not very good, is it? So, um, I like, yeah, it's just a clown show here. Uh, you can get to Ottawa, but again, most of the field's going to get to Cousins Batherson, and that's it. And like, I just have
Yeah.
no interest in that. That the
I
sneaky
mean,
ways to play would be something like Zetterlund, Chabot. My God, I don't know how Adam Gaudette's been so bad because every time I look, like he's scoring a highlight reel goal with just an absolute
yep.
rocket. So like, if you want to play at 11.5 Adam Gaudette, like that's his ceiling, but like he could get it. And again, power play 2 stack is probably what I would do just because like I don't know, like let's just play Chabot, let's just play Zetterlund because of 2 passers, and then make it work around that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm not playing Ottawa myself.
I think every time there's any injuries in Ottawa, I always think like, are we going to see them unleash Shane Pinto? And maybe it's just I'm wrong and Shane Pinto's not that good because they just
It's
refuse to allow this man to be on the power play anymore. I mean,
He's
I don't know. Like, and I think it's like my sense of what he was like this, like, I don't even know. I don't want to compare him to another player. It just felt like he would shoot from anywhere. And I felt like we were getting this young, donkey chucker. And like, I just want to see him on the power play to accidentally score a couple of those, but they won't let him.
my trolling you on Shane Pinto has been long standing. So let's just move on to the Columbus side.
Okay.
The home Jackets, again, like Buffalo, they're still technically alive. There's no E next to their name
That's
on the standings page.
true.
So, uh, uh, suspecting Voronkov, Monahan, Marchenko, though we didn't see a practice today, and they got shut out 4-0 against Ottawa on Sunday. So, like, this all could be in the blender. Um, Boone Jenner has been surprisingly awesome since returning from injury. So I suppose building around him is the way I would go. Be it, the line that currently exists in Johnson and Fantilli with Varensky, or, maybe he gets moved alongside Marchenko and that makes that line, just blast off. But that's all I would be looking out for. I don't think I'm playing this game. As Tom mentions in the chat, Ottawa sucks and they hate scoring goals, but they're favorites to win, which means they're just going to play lockdown defense because
Yeah.
they're basically the Blues East at this point in time.
I agree, and I do think that Ottawa is going to be popular, like you said, and it's so obvious where it's going to go that it's like, well, then you go the other way, and it's like, well, is that winning a 10-game slate? I mean, are you playing for first, or are you playing to, um, try to get a low owned piece of a high implied team total? Like, I don't. Best bet is not to do it, and like for everything we could say about Columbus, I really actually think this is a pretty decent team that just unfortunately lost all of its goaltending, and maybe that's partially not good. When Werenski's not on the ice, it suffers pretty immensely. Branson and Jack Johnson, who would have thought that wouldn't work? Not Matt. I know he's a big. I don't know. I think it's fair to just probably not play this game and know that the ownership's coming in. Like, and really, I like the Devils more. Like I said, I also like Detroit more than both sides, and the price isn't the same, but like I think there's so much more upside that I'm okay with paying the price on Detroit one.
All right, Chicago at Pittsburgh, another Sunday rematch of a game that Chicago won 3-1. Yeah, I stacked a 5-man Pittsburgh stack. Did not go well. Will we be punished again on Tuesday? Quite possibly. That said,
what was the 5-man? What was the 5-man? I'm just wondering now.
So the 5-man I had in was Sid, McGroarty, Koivunen, Raquel, Erik Karlsson. Karlsson hit the blocks bonus in the first 4 minutes. I thought I was rich because I was the only person in a field of 70 with Erik Karlsson against Chicago, and it didn't matter. But anyway,
nothing matters.
On the road Chicago side first, we're not expecting anything to change, of course. Mikheyev, Bedard, Donato, for some reason, is 18K. I guess that's whatever. Bedard, Donato have been very good, so them at 13K as a contrarian 2-man stack, maybe that's an option. Teravainen, Nazar, Bertuzzi all get some power play role. Nazar in the second unit, he's been the best of this trio somehow. Just getting a tons of opportunities and primary assists, I'm guessing. Most important here, Sam Renzel is running the top power play at the moment. He was 40% owned on Sunday slate, but he was 2,800. Now he's 3,600, so potentially levels the playing field a bit there. But Renzel has done okay in his NHL stint. Wow. It's been 3 games, but he does not profile based on his track record as a fantasy guy. Good prospect. Pronman actually has him ranked right either above or behind Korchinski. Because I was reading both their blurbs before the Sunday game, wondering could I get sneaky and play Korchinski over Renzel, and it doesn't seem like there's a clear difference there. So I just went elsewhere to a different game entirely. Didn't matter because again, 5-man Pittsburgh. Otherwise, down the lineup, Foligno, Veleno, Reichel, Kurashev, Moore, Slager, nothing to see there. No, nothing stands out to me. I think what I'm doing here, if I'm playing Chicago, is I'm playing Bedard, Donato, and then just replacing Mikheyev with Tyler Bertuzzi. The power play, not all that likely to hit. It's not very good, you see. But if it
Hmm.
does, I don't think Ilya Mikheyev at 5K is paying off all that often. He's been great. I think he'll make Bedard and Donato better, but he's just not a fantasy guy. And it's basically a 5K Ivan Barbashev, which, I'm fine fading that.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously a juicy matchup on either side, but I also would play it through the Bedard upside. And I know it hasn't been a stellar year, but maybe Donato unleashes it. On the Pittsburgh side of the house, I mean, I really both top lines have been pretty good here. Malkin's been shooting a ton. Raquel's been doing kind of the scoring and everything. And I really do think that your process was pretty sharp on Sunday, and it didn't pay off. And it's totally worth going back to. Like, how do you play it exactly? I think you could make a lot of combinations that work through the two young prospects in Kovalev and Brigordi, and
Yes.
then play through, how you want to play it. It's not a perfect correlation with either line, but there's a lot of pieces on either side that I like enough that I think you could be right. And
I screwed
I don't know
something up
what.
here, by the way, on my screen. So I
Oh,
I screwed up the sort order because I was playing around with the stats here, and that's why I don't do this, because then it screws it up for the podcast. So if I do this though, it should be back in order. Um, okay, yep, we are sorted, and now back to Pittsburgh. All right, cool.
yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is I think the process of overstacking Pittsburgh is good and fine. I mean, they're gonna what it feels like is that they have, obviously, Rucker McGorty is very much so a player that should and very much could be a big part of this team's future. Hard to know at this age, but like has the underlyings and the stats that would back it up, and they're putting him in the best opportunities to succeed with Crosby and Rust. And then you have, Koivunen there, who's just been very good and looks like a daily fantasy guy that just doesn't have the pedigree coming in. Um, so you could go through either of them very easily. And like they're going to see minutes and they're going to see run and they're going to see
Yeah.
opportunity right now because Pittsburgh season is over. So I don't want to say that I have this incredibly strong stance either way. I also don't think you're wrong to play Letang or Carlson. They've both been shooting more than most players on this team, which is why I kind of like the idea of the second power play a little bit and playing, Malkin or McGrody with their lines and Carlson. Like going back to that type of situation is totally fine by me.
Uh, yeah, I would say definitely Malkin would be like the so. I think Koivunen is going to be the most owned player on Tuesday's slate. That's not outlandish considering he also, in addition to Rinzel, was like something 30-40% owned on the Sunday slate. In this same matchup on the road, same roles, same everything, just a couple hundred cheaper. For some reason, he's only priced at 3K, while McGroarty gets all the way up to 5,500, and both have been pretty shooty. It's worth pointing out that in the AHL, in 60 games, Koivunen had 55 points to McGroarty's 39. McGroarty shoots a bit more, uh, like in the AHL this year, but Koivunen still carries about a 2 per game shot rate, and McGroarty was closer to like 2.6 per game. Um, but you look at the previous year, which for Koivunen was overseas and for McGroarty was in the NCAA, and both look like really stellar producers in terms of offensive output. McGroarty just with more pedigree, like you mentioned. Koivunen was the key piece of the Jake Gensel deal. So, like, I think Dubas clearly targeted Koivunen. He immediately came up and is running the power play in, like, the Malkin spot. So, again, Koivunen, I think, is the best play on the slate. He should be the highest owned play, and I will be playing Ville Koivunen. Does that mean I'm playing Malkin or Raquel or Eric Carlson again? Like, I'm not sure. But the answer is probably, in all honesty, because this spot is just so good against Chicago. I'm ready
Yeah.
to get hurt again. Um, and yeah, if you want to play Sid, whatever, it's really expensive, and I'm not sure that
Yeah.
the Koivunen play is really all that related to it. Because if Koivunen gets you 11, you're totally fine with it. Versus if Sid gets you 15, you're kind of like, well, damn, that sucks. And that's totally within the range of outcomes, given Sid's not a huge volume guy.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. And yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason why it's hard to like fawn over too many of these spots because Pittsburgh's an unbelievable spot as well. So I agree. And I like the way you're playing it. We still have 4 games left. We were talking about Pittsburgh and Chicago for far too long. So now let's talk about a game that everyone's probably dying to hear more about. And that's the Islanders at the Nashville Predators in a game that stinks out loud. It's between two teams that are just toast. But this is nonsense week. Is there any nonsense afoot?
I've been on the Islanders bandwagon for couple
Gross.
weeks now. I mean, they have players who are pretty
Why?
inexpensive, playing decent roles, and that have been pretty good. But the two that I'm definitely looking at are Anders Lee at 5,400, 13.4 expected fantasy points per game over the last 10. This is more than just 10 games of him being really, really solid and getting decent results to show for it, but not great ones. And then Siplikov, with Anthony Duclair taking a leave of absence, moves from the fourth line up to the second line. He is a guy who, earlier in the season was doing great things alongside Brock Nelson. He's 3,800. It's a matchup with Nashville, so like you don't need to ask for much, I think. And then also noteworthy, Noah Dobson is playing every minute of the power play if the last couple games are to be trusted. He's 6,400 on defense, but again, he's playing the full 2 minutes because they don't have anyone else who can play the power play. Like, are you going to play Casey Zizekas or Pierre Engvall in the power play? Probably not. So Noah Dobson, come on down.
Yeah. I don't know what the worst thing you said this whole podcast was, but probably that you've been high on the Islanders lately is actually worse than playing Counter-Strike at 3 a.m. So, yeah, that's fine. I mean, in reality, it's not a terrible pivot. It's nonsense week. I mean, again, I think for the price, I'm still leaning towards Detroit 1, but that top line for the Islanders is kind of doing it all. They're all guys that shoot the puck. They're all guys that are perfectly correlated, which is actually a lot harder to come by than you think on this slate. So I can't really argue against it, although it makes me sick to my stomach. Now, the Nashville side of the house, it's a bit more wonky. I don't know how you're clicking on Nashville without Philip Forsberg, but maybe you could find a way. I don't think, actually, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong. Have you clicked on Steven Stamkos yet this year in DFS?
The answer is probably yes, but I don't recall a situation that I have, even in Forsberg teams.
Was last slate the first slate he's like gotten there? I feel like, I mean, I'm sure he has more than last slate, but regardless, like Forsberg, Stamkos, Blankenberg, like that feels like a comfy click type of situation in a matchup that is fine, but the game that's bad. But I get why you would look at it. I don't know. I mean, Blankenberg is good. He's playing a ton of minutes. He's 3,500. He might get less ownership. Actually, you know what? He will just get less ownership than Rinzel because he's not a shiny new toy in the block. I mean, any thoughts outside of like this is minor league contrarian and like not entirely stupid?
Generally agree. Blankenberg's also right now part of a 7 defenseman setup, so the minutes upside is a bit capped versus Rinzel's playing alongside Vlasic, which does mean that there's a legitimate differential in their projected time on ice, I think. But yeah, Blankenberg's fine. The name to keep an eye on going forward is Matthew Wood. He's in the lineup. They scored just 1 goal on Sundays, so he could move up. Especially he can move up in place of Zach LaRue, alongside Forsberg and Stamkos. Again, he's brand new, so it's very likely that he just sticks with McCarron and Cole Smith, and they don't try to dump too much on his plate too quickly. But if you're looking for the next Tage Thompson, this is a guy. I mean, he played at UConn, like a very similar frame. Like he's just a huge guy with a talent and can shoot. Small man skill, big man shot sort of deal. Projecting Tage Thompson is going to be very difficult given the trajectory Tage took. But Wood's here. He should be a player for a long time to come, and he's 2,500 in a matchup against the Islanders. So it's a little bit just close your eyes and believe sort of thing. But it's possible that we get some elevated work, either top power play or top line usage.
Mhm. And of course, Kiefer Bellows' revenge narrative. We'd be remiss not to
Oh my
mention.
God. Wow. Yep. That's exactly right. And he's a power
Absolute.
play too as of late. So
And yeah, we would not be doing our jobs. So let's get to the final three games, two of which are their games that are going to be played. Certainly, Vancouver at Dallas. I mean, this could have been a round one matchup had Vancouver have not been an absolute tire fire down the stretch. Alas, here we are. It is not that. I really don't know what Vancouver clicking on Vancouver looks like successfully. I mean, Quinn Hughes is worth the money. So it's through him, without a doubt. The volume has been concerning as of late. It feels like they got everything they possibly could out of him for a little while, and as they fizzled to nothing, he's also kind of fizzled back to not being able to carry them on his own, and looked maybe mortal in the past couple of games.
yeah.
But we know what he can do. It's a really tough matchup. I probably just don't go there at all. But Brock Besser is shooting again. I don't know. Anything you want to say?
Yeah, the only unfortunate thing here is that Dallas has been so bad defensively that it makes Vancouver look pretty good. But I think the concerns are legitimate. We know Quinn Hughes has been hurt all season long. Their most recent loss really just did it in for them. With 5 games to go in their schedule, they are 8 points back of Minnesota, 10 points back of St. Louis with a game in hand. Like it's just not happening for them. So Quinn Hughes is unlikely to get those 30 minutes that he was getting
Yeah.
a week or two ago, where they were still technically in the hunt. So all I would be doing here is looking for value hunting. Unfortunately, guys like Hoglander are already priced up at 4,100. But
Yeah.
if they screw things around, I think they sent like Garamaki down, but maybe he was just a healthy scratch. If they draw him back in, the Linus Carlson guy is a guy I like. Like if they move someone up to the top line, that's the only way I would be interested in something here. Like I'm not playing Besser or Garland. Like they're fine, but I'm not doing it just because I think this team's sort of done, and I think a lot of
Yep.
their production is dependent on Quinn Hughesing, and I think we'll just see less of that in these final 5 games
Yep.
for Vancouver, just because we know Quinn Hughes is completely torn to shreds health wise.
Yep. Honestly, I think you just said exactly what I was trying to say, just much more elegantly. So thank you.
All right.
On the other side of the coin, we have the Dallas Stars, and for better or for worse, they're priced up on this one. I honestly, I can't believe I'm looking at this and like considering it. I honestly don't hate Dallas too. Like it's pretty cheap. They've been pretty good. And that's probably the only option. But I mean, just the depth on this Vancouver team is bad. I don't really respect them very much defensively, and their goaltending is just not what it used to be. So I could see a scenario where you give this a look. It feels contrarian. It's perfectly correlated. Does it do anything for you to take a look at the likes of Granlund, Duchesne, and Marchment?
For me, no.
Cool.
I don't want to play Dallas. They've been very. I mean, they've just been so bad. They've been awful to watch.
Unwilling
They
to break a slate.
it's it's just not even that. They just. I mean, we
You
had
miss
this
your boy
discussion
Miro.
we had this discussion in the Discord. Well, I mean, anytime you're replacing Miro Heiskanen with the likes of Ilya Lyubushkin, Cody Ceci, and Matt Dumba, you're gonna be struggling, and they're just awful right now. I think again, whatever. We get into this in the Discord. I don't need to waste your time on it. I think the only path to Dallas actually being the Cup favorite that they currently are is for them to lock it down and play slower tempo wise. They don't have the horses defensively to keep up with a fast tempo game, despite what Rupe Hintz and Duchesne and even plotters like Robertson and Rantanen, like they have the skill to do it. This team just doesn't have the defense to do it. So like they need to get into that grindy game, which will be bad for DFS. And so like if you want to full stack something, sure, but I'm not doing it. So let's just move on before we talk way too long about the playoffs, which we will cover in depth in the coming weeks here on the Morning Skate podcast. So let's get to Seattle at Utah. The good part about this podcast taking so long is that we should have pregame warm-ups for Seattle here.
Oh, yep. I was actually wondering about that because they were. But while I looked that up, we were asked about your fuckery index. Is there any game more fuckery than Dallas and Vancouver? Is there any game you want to mention on that front?
I think Florida alone makes that game the highest on the fuckery index.
Yeah, that has to be okay. So number one, I think that number two, no, that's I cannot find.
All right.
Wait, does this have it? Oh my god, this image is too blurry. I think it does. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not finding lines.
All right. Anyway, we have. I think what I have is right. They sent Yanni Newman down to the AHL to clear up a top 9 spot for Eli Tolvanen, who was toiling away on the fourth line last game. So I think they keep Eberle, Stevenson, Schwartz together. They keep Burakovsky, McCann, Wright together almost for sure, given the way McCann and Wright have been trending. So that leaves Tolvanen in the play of Kakko Beniers. The power plays, they did practice this morning. Kakko was with Kakko, Beniers, Eberle, Stevenson, Montour, Burakovsky, McCann, Wright, full line stack with Jaden Schwartz and Vince Dunn. My preference is Jaden Schwartz here. He's been very good when in the lineup. He's playing with Stevenson, who is a pass-first player. You get the correlation with Burakovsky, McCann, and Wright, who I think are their best power play players. And yeah, Chandler Stevenson sucks and ruins the top power play. So, let's just stack it. I mean, it's 1B power play, but let's stack the power play 2 here and something like Schwartz, McCann, and Vince Dunn. But any other thoughts on Seattle?
Not a lot. I mean, back to back against Utah, it just feels like you're really drawing at straws here. I mean, a fully correlated McCann line is something. I don't know. I think I just have more interested in Utah. The matchup looks better for them. It's a good game in general, so I see why you could look to Seattle still. They're. I mean, like I've said, I feel like it's been a while now, obviously, but Seattle doesn't have any elite talent through their center core, and they're trying to make something out of it. And right now, McCann's playing really well, and is correlated with Wright and Burakovsky, and it's not that expensive. So it's probably that, if anything. But I would just rather go to Utah. It's not a perfect correlation, but as far as the power play is concerned, although did they change their power play? I retweeted that. I'm going to double check that quick.
Change lightly, but Keller, Gunther, Hayton, Schmaltz, Sergachev, Peyton, and Cooley flip-flopped a few games ago. So that's good news. Again, I think this Keller, Cooley, Gunther line at 5-on-5 is garbage. I have no interest in it. Stylistically, it doesn't work. There needs to be a Barrett Hayton whose job is to go retrieve the puck and give it to Gunther, give it to Keller. Logan Cooley just wants to, Trevor Zegras it and, stay on the perimeter, which is fine. He's a wonderful player. I love Logan Cooley.
Instagram hockey, am I hearing?
Not quite with Logan Cooley. He's got a bit more grit to his game than the Zegrases and Jack Hugheses of the world, but it's just, again, I love Barrett Hayton, the player, and I think he fits so well with Gunther and honestly with Keller too, that it just bothers me. So that's part of the reason I'm somewhat interested in Seattle and whatever nonsense is targeting this line, because I think defensively they're a bit of a mess. We did see Durzi and Sergachev paired up at 5-on-5 in practice, which I believe is the first time we've seen that all season. Even Durzi's missed 2/3 of it due to injury, but that's interesting. Makes the bottom pairs obviously a bit worse. Power play 2 though. Cooley, Durzi, Doan, McBain, and Michael Kesselring. Doesn't really do it for me because Josh Doan is 4,900. Just sure. For some reason, he's really expensive. So the role does get better, but doesn't matter because the pricing.
Yeah.
There's nothing here that I'm that interested in besides Barrett Hayton and Nick Schmaltz, which I'm okay with as a mini stack.
I could see playing Durzi and Sergachev together with whatever line I think they'll correlate with. It's going to be tough to know.
They're going to play.
I'm at least somewhat
Gunther,
interested.
Keller.
Yeah, they got to be right. they're just trying to figure out how to make that line not horrendous defensively, and that seems like the only option. When they could just probably play the line like I just agree. I think Hayton for Cooley swap it. You're probably looking at a better unit. Regardless, we can move on to the final game. Vegas, Colorado. Right, it's a 6.5. I mean, I feel like there's something here we gotta try to figure out. It doesn't look like a 6.5, but we know what the scoring is here.
Well, DJ,
what?
Shea Theodore is back on the top power play, and he's 4,900. Did I sell you?
All right. Well, top stacks already answered. It's Shea Theodore and all of his friends. I did see a stat that was Victor Olofsson has like 14 shots on goal in the past like 2 games or something, and had like 14 in the previous like 100. But like he really has 14 shots on goal in the last 2 games. Like that's not an exaggeration. That is the number. He's still not going to get to 20.
Yeah.
He's not.
Yeah, he knows.
And if he did now, the Velarde missing by 2 and then dying is just so absolutely infuriating that it just wouldn't matter.
Sure.
Like he literally was like, "There's no way he could miss unless he gets hurt." And he's like, "How about I just get absolutely hurt for the rest of the season, 100% without a doubt?" Great.
Yeah.
It is hard to see the scenario on Vegas though in reality where like Shea Theodore wins the slate and it's not Jack Eichel, right? I mean, am I crazy for saying that?
No, that's right. We've seen since he's returned from injury as well that Shea Theodore's and Braden McNabb are just playing as a 5-man unit with Eichel, Stone, Barbashev.
Yeah.
Now, I believe that for the most part has been at home, so there could be a little bit of a difference hitting the road against Colorado. But I think that's still safe. Now, obviously, given last game, Shea Theodore was on the top power play, the Eichel, Stone, Theodore stack makes even more sense, even if they're not, glued to the hip at 5-on-5. So, yeah, that's what I would do here. Dorofeyev is fun, but his line mates of Howden and Saad don't inspire much confidence. And like you said, Carlson, Smith, Olofsson has been pretty dominant. Obviously, if Olofsson's getting 14 shots on goal, like Carlson's doing some good stuff there at 5-on-5 to generate that. The line is 11.6K. Like, yeah, I think you can make that work. And if you wanted to play, Shea Theodore with it, William Carlson and Theodore like correlate on the power play, like it's doable. I don't hate the idea. That's probably a stretch though, given the matchup and that Colorado's actually got some decent depth now. It is a question mark. Anything else you want to add on Vegas?
No.
Okay. Because Colorado's depth is a little tested at the moment. We're dealing with question marks in the names of Gerard, Nachos, Druin. I've not projected any of them in right now, but they theoretically could play. I believe the quote is they could play this week, which means, if not Tuesday, it's,
Gerard, Nachos, Manson, Duran will get in a game this week, but they're all day today.
Yeah. So does that mean tomorrow? Does it mean Thursday against Vancouver? Like, I don't know. So keep an eye on that. If every guy misses here, we have the likes of Kivi Ranta on the second line, Miles Wood, Coyle VC as the third line. That makes this Vegas line of Smith, Carlson, Olofsson a bit more palatable just because they don't have waves to throw at you. Because McKinnon's going to eat the Eichel matchup and whatever. Eichel can probably win that because Eichel's awesome. But, like, it's not as easy as saying, oh, here's Charlie Coyle to go chew on that William Carlson will get. So, I could see it working out. But ultimately with Colorado, we know the drill. It's McKinnon, Nichushkin, Lehkonen. This power play, I don't think is right. I don't believe I updated.
It's not what they did last game, but they did actually run Lehkonen over Coyle at one point as well. So it's probably.
You mean Coyle over Lehkonen?
They did both.
Okay.
Like Makar, Nelson, Yurchushkin, McKinnon, and Coyle, and then they did one with Lehkonen. So, yeah.
And then they immediately scored, right? Are you looking at it?
Hold on. Let me look again.
Whatever.
No, I don't see it, at least on HockeyViz, but it doesn't matter. It's,
There's a billion things that I've looked at that it could be applying to. So in any case, we're going to get more information on Colorado. It's a tough matchup with Vegas. I respect this Vegas team a whole hell of a lot. So if you're not playing McKinnon and McCarr stuff, like I don't know that I would really suggest anything. Uh, but yeah, Ross Colton, if you need a punt, is fine. If everyone misses, Charlie Coyle is fine if everyone misses, but it's not great. It's gonna be gross. All right, let's move on. Let's get out of here because yeah, we've got hot dates to get to or something like that.
I'm gonna finish the season finale of Severance if that helps anybody at home.
Nice.
Yeah, obviously behind, but like I just started it somewhat recently, and yeah, I was busy. I already explained it. Top stacks for me. I think at the end
Can
of the
you
day,
can you make
sorry,
the
what?
screen bigger?
Oh, I can do anything for a
I
friend.
can't. Yeah.
Um, oh yeah, you can't. I know you always do it when you get out of that, so I was kind of waiting for you, but I guess
Yeah.
that was dumb. I feel like I'll just give my slate recap. I did a little preview while I waited for you, and people probably love that so much they want to hear a little more. I mean, I think when it comes down to it, I'm looking at Detroit, New Jersey, Pittsburgh, um, maybe Utah. To be honest, I'll be honest. I actually am going to probably toy with them quite a bit, and that might be it. So, are there any of those that you like the most that you want to steal before I do?
No, just take one. We've got options upon options here, and I'm gonna get crazy.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Detroit one. I really, really think that I made a good point without even like trying to of being like the reason people aren't gonna click on this is because of like all the stuff that I already said. And in reality, it's gonna see 24 minutes of ice time. Like Larkin's going to be out there for more than almost any other player on the entire slate. And just because he's been bad doesn't mean that that's going to continue. Like this is a point of game player. This isn't a player that I particularly think is worth what think it's just not as good as what people think he is, but we've seen him have monstrous explosion games, and it is in his range of outcomes to break the slate entirely. And when he does that, is probably when he's with DeBrincat and Kane at this point. So, yeah, was he better before with Casper and Raymond? Maybe, but I'm just dumb enough to try.
All right, I am going to grab Toronto one. I, I really liked what you said about if Barkov plays, liking it more. Not only does it make the game more competitive, but like you're saying, if Barkov is only playing 15 minutes, people will overreact to that, in my opinion. And this Florida
Yep.
team, they're mailing it in. Like they've made it clear. Sure, maybe Bob gets the start and Gus Forsling plays, but like that's a worst case scenario. And even then, they've been fine. They've not been excellent defensively over this last little stretch. You know, no Kachuk, Marchand getting into the swing of things. So I'm fine taking a swing on Nyes, Matthews, Marner. Nyes has been very productive. Marner's a good player, and Matthews is awesome, and he's Matthewsing again. So give me that top line. Toronto is fighting for the one seed in the Atlantic.
All right, Matt leans into the biggest fuckery index game of the night. I take, I mean, again, we were asked, is Detroit, Montreal a high on your fuckery index? I feel like it can't be, right? I feel like it's the opposite. Like, fuckery index means the most ambiguity, like what we don't
Yeah.
know. And like that game, actually, we know, like
Yeah.
these two teams care a lot, and we're going to see these two lines. So, like, but so I'm going to go to a game that's, not super high or super low on the fuckery index, but it is going to be high on the ownership index on the other side. I'm going to go Malkin, Koivunen, and Raquel. And then leave all my defense wide open, pick a goalie, have some fun.
All right. And of course, I'm going to need to get a little bit cheaper because of how much money I just spent on the Toronto side.
Makes sense.
So,
He's going to say Seattle. He's going to say Seattle.
no. Give me the DJ tilt stack, Olafson hat trick.
Oh, God.
Olafson marches toward 20 goals
Oh.
with the help of his friends William Karlsson and Shea Theodore.
I mean, I'm
That
sure I
line,
have the
or
bet so low, but
that stack is going to be 12.6K. Again, Colorado pretty banged up at the moment. If none of those guys play, their depth will be tested. Carlson's just been, he's too cheap for a role without Tomas Hertl in the lineup. Olafson is definitely too cheap at 3,200 for a shooter who's currently shooting. And Shea Theodore is too cheap at sub 5K for an awesome DFS player who's now back on the top power play after coming back from a wrist injury and really struggling. Like I think he's back full go, which is made clear by him supplanting Noah Hannafin on the power play one.
I mean, I can't complain. That is certainly a stack that's going to be playing hockey on peak chaos week.
Nice.
So fair enough. You have set a stack that exists. It will not be what I play, but it could be what you play if you do want to follow along at home. Man, I thought I had my two guys picked, and I just can't find a second one. So if you want to go first, feel free.
Sure. What were your two stacks?
Pittsburgh 2 and Detroit 1.
All right. I will go with Andrei Svechnikov, 4,800 Andrei Svechnikov against Buffalo.
Brave.
Too cheap for a good player.
Okay, hold on. I should be writing this down. Right, Svechnikov. I was trying to figure out which New Jersey Devil I wanted to take and knew it was Timo Meier and couldn't figure out someone else to go with him, but I'm just going to do it anyways and then figure it out still on the fly. So I will go with Timo Meier.
Alrighty. That means I have 6,200 to play with. All right. I will... 63 would have been much better. Give me... You know what? Give me Anders Lee. Screw you. You said the Islanders bad. No, Anders Lee, 35 shots last 10 games.
I know Anders Lee has been good. Anders Lee has been good. I will give you that. He is like, it just feels like he's the type of guy that like really cares this late in the year. And there's not a lot of that left out there, you know. He just gets down there, gets out there, he cares. Him and the Buffalo Sabres would be a good match this late in the year when the season's all but over. They should get together and hang out because they finally care together. I mean, the correct answer to my riddle is, of course, Koivunen, who's in my stack and would be against the rules to possibly pick. Couldn't even. You know what? I'm going to say Matthew Wood for now. That's what I'm going to do. I think the prospect profile is strong enough. Let's see if he gets bumped up the lineup. But the minutes should get bigger. He only saw 13, 14, but I expect them to, season completely over, let's, Rucker, McGroarty, Koivunen in this situation up as much as possible and actually give him run with real players. And if I'm wrong on that, I might end up seeing Koivunen on my actual bet tomorrow. But for now, I'm going to be brave, bold, and give me going full Wood, going big, going Wood. I'm getting hard for Wood. I'm going to leave now.
We love to see that. All right. Well, let's get out of here. Like Stoner says, smash the like button if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're on the podcast feed, leave us a like, a review, whatever you want to do. Rate us 5 stars. It's all appreciated. Thank you, everyone, for dragging it out with us through the final weeks of the regular season here. Hopefully your playoffs and the rest of the season go well for you. Anything you want to add before we head out?
No, best ball wrapped up. Congrats to Iron Penguin if you're around these parts. Not really positive on that. My 3 teams didn't quite get there, but threw another $500-600 in the into the account. So can't complain, but just didn't have the Tage Thompson magic. I have one Matthews team left in the 2000 the first. Couldn't even catch fire there. Tough break there, but we'll be back for Thursday. I think maybe kind of depends on what the slate looks like, but I think we're probably going to be back, but we'll talk. And
totally
hopefully
on the slate.
Next time I see a Carl's Jr., I will go. I promise, Stoner. I promise. I don't even know where one is. I'm going to look it up after this.
Yeah, we'll either do a pod preview or a Zamboni, similar to the last couple weeks, where if the slate sucks on Tuesday, we'll just go into the Zamboni streets. So more to come there, but thank you all for stopping by. From Doug, from DJ, from myself, good luck on this 5-figure Tuesday, everybody, and we will see ya. You gotta end it, because I can't.